We are here at the Warner Brothers studio, sitting in your apartment for your show, The Rookie.
Yeah, well, it's not my apartment, but the lead character, John Nolan. Yeah, so his character, this is his apartment.
Well, I got to take this back a little bit because the thing is, see, I'm from Alaska, and,
Yes, you are.
and being from Alaska, when I say I'm from Alaska, they say, "Is there black people that live there?" And when I think about you being,
I think I said that.
right, I think you did say that.
I did say that.
Yeah. So, do you get that same reaction from people when you tell them, "Hey, I'm from Japan"?
I do. When I tell them I'm from Japan, it's like the air gets sucked out the room for a little bit, and they're like, "Huh?" Everybody thinks I'm joking at first because I joke a lot. But when I tell them, "Yeah," I was like, "No, I was born in Japan. Man. I'm Japanese," and they were like, "What?" They were like, "Yeah, I was born at Kobe," and they were like, "Kobe," and I said, "Okay," and then I talk a little bit. I can't speak Japanese, but when I start talking about Japan a little bit, they're like, "Oh, really?" I said, "Yeah, man, I got a passport, the whole nine. Everything says I'm from Japan."
That's cool. And I know you grew up in California.
I did. Yeah.
How were you in high school? What kind of? I know I've read you were maybe you would talk a lot in class. Because I used to do that too. Did you used to do that? Get in trouble a little bit?
In high school, I wouldn't say the class clown. You know, I liked to dress, so I used to be sharp and put together. I had to coordinate.
Okay.
So I won best dressed when I was in high school. You know, I would joke. I don't joke. I didn't joke as much as I do now. But you know, I like sports, so I played sports a lot. I played football, ran track, but we had fun. You know,
That's really cool. Yeah. And I read as you were in college, your first dream was to be a lawyer. Now tell me, to be a lawyer. Now tell me what happened.
You know, I used to watch a lot of lawyer movies, a lot of lawyer shows, and I was like, oh, that looks like the life to be. You know, I went to college. I went to Tuskegee University in Alabama, and but I got into school for the first time, and I was away from home, and I like to party a little bit too much. Oh yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, so I went the other direction.
No, yeah, so you were getting wild.
I was getting really wild.
So you were staying out to 4 a.m.
If that, and I would never go to class. I would. So my first semester, I came back with straight D's. So I was on the dean's list, and you got to remember, I had an academic scholarship, so I had a partial academic scholarship. So I had to keep a certain grade point average, and my grade point dropped. So I got on the dean's list. I was about to get kicked out of school. People don't know there's another dean's list. They got the dean's list for the A's, and then the people that go get kicked out. And so I had to rethink some choices in my academics. So I started taking away some hard classes, put a little bit more electives in there, just so I can get through year one. So I took away some classes, and I picked up a monologue class. So this particular course was taught by Mr. Johnson, Lee Johnson, Lee Johnson, and what he taught me was what he would teach in class would be, you know, you just read a monologue and you recite in front of the class and that kind of thing. And I said, well, I want to be a litigator. This is going to help with my dissertations. I'll be able to, you know, do an Al Pacino. Yo, you know, like boom, I'm guilty, you're guilty. You know, because that's all I really knew about law was movies. So I wouldn't study for this class. I talked a lot in this class. At this time, I did start getting chatty.
Okay.
And a friend of mine used to talk all the time. But for some reason, I would retain these monologues when I would have to recite them because I'd be like, oh, I got a monologue today. So I would like, and for some reason, I would get the gist. I would get the words. They would just seep in. And I would get in front of the class and I would do these monologues and people enjoyed them. So Mr. Johnson just said, you got a little talent, man. You ever think about maybe doing a play? You know, won't you audition for this play that I'm doing over at the theater? And I'm sitting there like, what theater? And they're like, what are you talking about? We have a theater on campus. I was like, we do? I mean, because it was on the other side of campus, and I was on the party side of campus. And anyway, I end up getting blackmailed. He blackmailed me into.
What?
I tell you, it had to be. This is how I know there's a God.
Okay.
Because it was all shaped by God. Because I did not want to do the play. He bribed me. He said, hey, you talk a lot in my class. So you can get a B or you can get a D. And he knew I couldn't afford another D. So I was like, oh, what are you talking about? He was like, oh, so he blackmailed me. So I went for the audition, got the part. and it was terrible. I had a terrible time rehearsing. It was back in the old days, so you had to rehearse for 3 months, and then the play started. So every day we would rehearse. We rehearsed. The play was Raisin in the Sun, which is a classic play. I didn't know at the time. And we do this play, and I remember going out on stage and just blanking because I was like, I was thinking I'm going like before the
Even
show
though you
started.
prepared, you
Yeah,
still.
I prepared. I knew everybody's lines. So right when the show opened, I kind of peeked out and I saw all the people coming. I was like, ooh, what was that? And then right before I was supposed to step on that, blank, and I was like, I couldn't remember like anything. I was like, what's my name? I couldn't remember my name. And I was like, what am I going to do? And I remember they were like, go, go, go. And I stepped out on the stage and kind of blacked out. And then all I remember is like waking up towards the end, and everybody was like, ah. And I was like,
You don't
wow.
remember nothing.
Yeah, I didn't remember anything. But I remember once the applause hit and once I looked out and I kind of woke up from everything, I was like, oh, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
Wow.
Like right then and there, I was like, oh.
Because you could have stopped because you're that afraid. You could have been like, I don't want to do this ever.
I ran out, but I was like, I was kind of forced in because they were like, go out there. But it's kind of like you just jump into the pool and you learn how to swim, and from that point on, I just knew. So everything shifted around acting from that point on. So I was like, okay, this is what I'm doing for my life, and how can I make this work in college and so forth. And I couldn't make it work in college, so I left college and said, hey, I want to go to a dramatic academy and so forth. I want to go to New York. I want to do plays. And so I started auditioning for plays in Atlanta because my dad lived in Atlanta. And I started getting all these plays. And next thing you know, I auditioned for an Academy of Dramatic Arts, of the Performing Arts. And I got in, and they had an academy in New York and one in Los Angeles. So I was like, look, I'm going to New York. I'm going to be a real actor. They were like, okay, it's 2-year waiting list. I was like, how? And they were like, I said, well, how long for LA? They were like 6 months. I said, oh, I'm going to LA. I'm going to be a real actor. Yeah. So I went to LA. I came back home. My mom cried. She was like, you're going to be on my couch for the rest of your life.
So she didn't really believe in you at that time.
Oh, no, she was crying. My dad was like, look, man, be like Burt Reynolds.
Hey, he believed in you. He seen more.
No, he believed he said be like Burt Reynolds, like play sports, and then when you play sports, they'll lead into acting. Be like OJ.
Right.
No offense, but OJ at the time.
Okay.
So everybody wanted me to do something, and I was like, nah, this is. They were like, well, what's your plan B? I said, there's no plan B. This is what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life. So yeah, I just knew. It was like, yeah. It's like I knew that just the same way I knew I was a man. You know what I'm saying? It's like you just know.
It's purpose.
Yeah, it's purpose. And little did I know, man, just doors start opening. You know, I known great actors in my life that you would never have heard of. And for some reason, you would sit there and say, wow, well, how did you get it? And this person didn't get it. But it's just because God's way and his path, you start walking down certain things, doors open differently for these people in that. So that's why people say it's luck, but actually it's really just destined for.
It's destined for.
You know what I'm saying? And then if you sharpen your, if you do your part in it, you do your work on it, then you can last for a while.
And as you're in your career and you're working and you want to book things, you want to book jobs, and when it's going slow, what do you do when you just?
Well, you gotta understand this industry is one, it's a numbers game. It's not really necessarily about your talent all the time. So you can be the most talented person, don't get the job just because you don't have the right look. The person playing this role, you guys don't match up well, or your height, you might be too tall, the other person's too short, and this doesn't work out. There's a lot of things that can hinder you from getting a particular job, or they could just be having a bad day. So when you came in for your particular audition, they were just out of it, and they hired the person right behind you. You know what I'm saying? Or you don't never know what can happen. It's just human nature.
Because rejection is huge.
You got to feed on rejection. So that's
How do you see rejection to you when you?
I don't. I just I don't go in there trying to be accepted or rejected. So I know what's for me is for me. What's not is not. I kind of tailor things I want to do. I used to be at the point where you try to when you first get in, you kind of go for everything, you know, and you don't really know what your niche is or what you're trying to do. But then I started saying, you know, something, you can, if you start shooting free throws a certain way, you know what I'm saying? If you limit what shots you take, it's kind of like Mark McGwire. You know, he hit the most home runs at one time, and he beat Barry Bonds, everybody's record. And his strike zone was very small. He didn't swing at everything. He only swung at things that hit in this particular box.
Like a
and his home runs went up just because he smallered his strike zone.
Smaller your strike
Yeah,
zone.
so that's what I did with acting. So I started smallering like, this is what I want to do. This is who I want to work with. So I don't want to do everything. So I'm not going to chase everything. And you'd be surprised. It start working and you start getting the stuff you want to do. So even The Wood.
Yeah.
I remember reading The Wood and I was like, oh, this is mine.
Wow.
I was like, oh, this is.
So do you sometimes see it before it happens?
Yeah, I mean, I read it and I was like, oh, there's no question. I was like, look, and they were like, oh, what about? I said, no. This is the movie. Get me in. They didn't want to see me at
called
first.
it. You claimed
Yeah,
it.
I was like, yeah, you know what? I said, no. Get me a meeting for this. And then they finally got me in, and it was one meeting before I said, look, this is.
So no audition?
I don't even think I auditioned. It was more of a meeting of just talking about, and they were like, oh, you're the guy. I said, yeah, I'm telling you, I'm the guy.
Wow.
And it was like, because that's what it's about. It's about relationships.
Relationships.
Yeah, this business is about relationship, having a good relationship with people you want to work with, people you want to work with again. I know you know a lot of people in the industry, and what you will see is people working together repeatedly because, you know.
You don't have time for all that.
You don't got time for all that. You don't got time for the real drama. You know what I'm saying? We're making the drama. We don't need real drama. So it's just like I want to spend 3 months. I want to spend 6 months doing a show with people I enjoy. Why you want to be why would you want to be miserable? I don't got time for it.
No.
Life's too short. I got a wife. I got too many kids. You know what I'm saying? I got 4 kids that you want to spend time with, and I'm not going to miss out on life being miserable just because I'm on TV or you know what I'm saying?
Right. What's the best advice you've ever received?
I remember Denzel Washington.
Oh, we're going to bring him up. So
Yeah.
you were talking to him?
I was talking to him because I actually auditioned for this movie.
Okay.
That I should have got. I ain't gonna tell you the movie.
Okay.
But the guy who got the role is now a very famous actor.
Okay.
Because I knew that was the part to do.
Yep. You knew.
But like I said, it's one of those reasons I didn't get it because I was too young. At the time, I was like 21. Denzel was in his 30s or something like that. And he was just like, "You too young. The character's supposed to be short. I was tall. You know what I'm saying? So it just didn't fit." But he came up to my table once, and he was just like, "Look, man, hey, Richard." And I said, "Hey, man." I was like, because I was very young. I was like, "Denzel Washington." Yeah, like, Denzel know my name. He was like, "Yo, man." He was like, "I just want to let you know that you deserve the role." He said, "But because you're too young, too tall, you weren't the character.
Okay.
But you were the best actor in the room." Wow. He said, "So I came here and he walked over to my table, and he was like, and I came here just to let you know you're doing exactly what you're supposed to do.
Wow.
And to keep going and don't let this hinder what you do," which I didn't at the time.
Right.
But he was just like, I just wanted to let you know personally. And I know God set
What
it
did
up.
that feel like for you? When
It was amazing. And I was there with a bunch of friends and they were like, "Yo!"
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You
Yeah.
know,
Make
I
you
blew
feel
the spot
better.
up because he came over. But I remember that being a very encouraging word for me at that time.
And you're on your new show, The Rookie, which is about relationships and second chances. So in life, was there ever a time where you needed a second chance?
I've had a life of second chances. You know, second chances in all my relationships with my father, with my mother, with my brother. You know, with my wife, like I said, even with my children. Even the relationship we have now is very different than when they were really, really young.
Well, this is awesome. Like, you have to go shoot. You,
Oh, yeah.
you busy. I don't want to take any more of your time.
Oh, no,
but
you're
again, thank you. I really appreciate it.
kidding me?
You,
It's so good seeing
no,
you,
I mean,
man.
I'm
8
just-
years.
You didn't have to do it. You're working. You didn't have to do it.
no.
There's a lot of people. I ask people all the time to do interviews. They reject. I mean, I'm used to it. I'm gonna be honest.
I gotta feed you.
Hey, so
yeah, right.
I appreciate you continue to do what you're doing. Continue to just be that example. Because, like I said, I still remember the time I met you, and you inspired me. So I really
appreciate that.
I really do
that.
appreciate it.
I still think you need to pick up a skateboard every once in a while.
All right,
You know what I'm saying? Look,
I might have to get you on a skateboard.
Oh no. But maybe my kids or something like that. But nah, you ain't gonna get
Yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah.
I'm too old for all that.
Right.